I was just wondering about that myself. I was like, somebody take my seat and I didn't know.
All right, I would like to welcome everybody out to our Harriman City Council General Meeting for Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. We will begin with the pledge that will be offered to us, are led by David Torgerson. So if you would please come to the podium.
Which way do I face? Oh, flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will move on to item 4.2, City Council comments and recognitions.
I just want to say that I had the opportunity to go to the children's play at the park and just continually amazed at the talent that we have in our community. Had a great time, and in fact, I didn't even realize going up to it that they divided the kids because there is so many that want to participate into 2 different age groups, so I got to see 2 different shows that night. Just fantastic. Thanks for the support from the community, but especially from the parents and the kids who are involved and make that such a great event for families to go out to.
Well, you stole my thunder. Ditto. It was so much fun.
It was.
It's just such a contribution to our community, to these kids for finding their way for enrichment, for self-expression, developing skills and talents, working together as groups. It's just, again, such a positive thing for our community. And when they're done, those shows were great.
Yep.
So thanks to everybody who contributed, for all the volunteers that helped set up and tear down. That was a fun experience. So thanks to everybody. And that's about it.
Okay. I do have a comment I'd like to make in regards to our process in regards to electronic public comments. It has been brought to my attention that recently we've had some issues regarding the format in which having our city recorder read those comments into the record may not be fair or consistent to those who may be here in public for one of a couple of reasons. One, we have not held that to necessarily to a 5-minute or to a 2-minute length as we normally would with somebody here. The other issue that we've had is recently we had a comment that was submitted by an individual by the name of Joseph King, who signed it as joking. That was a list of jokes and humorous comments directed towards the members of this body. Now, I think it was done in good faith and good.
I didn't get to see any of them.
Oh, we will have the opportunity to see them. I believe it made one towards. I think it was done in good faith and good in good spirit, and the intent was to provide some levity to our proceedings. However, the individual chose not to use their name, and they used the pavilion at Rosecrest Park at Butterfield Park. I'm sorry, the Rosecrest Pavilion as their address. And so, in respect to our city recorder, we are going to move forward. As we move forward, those statements will be incorporated in the public record. However, they will just be sent to us with our packets and our paperwork, so that's not a burden that's placed on our city recorder. And if there's no objections to that, that's what we will be doing moving forward. So I just wanted to call that out, that we have a little bit of an issue. I honestly saw some of the jokes. I thought some of them were quite funny. We will all get an opportunity to see them with our next packet. So just be aware that is coming, and I believe there was one specifically for each member of the council. So look forward to seeing what your joke was. All right, with that, we will move on to our public comment portion of the meeting. Audience members may bring any item to the city council's attention. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. State law prohibits the council from acting on items that do not appear on the agenda. Public comments for this meeting will also be conducted electronically. Any person interested in addressing the council may submit a comment by emailing recorder@harriman.org or by visiting harriman.org/agenda and minutes, where there's a link to fill out an online public form. Your statements will be incorporated into the public record. And that is the wording change that you'll see from previously. We would read that into the records. So this time, we do have several public comment forms that have been submitted. So we will go through those, and then we will open it up to the body as a whole. So the first one I have is from...
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I might just ask real quick. We also have this public hearing on the right-of-way easement, and perhaps we might want to make accommodation for what comments are related to that topic, if there are any.
Yes, I believe that I have at least one comment in regards to that. And so we'll hold that particular comment until then. And then if there's any other individuals, we'll make sure you have an opportunity to speak at that point. It looks like we may. All right. Awesome. Okay, so the first comment that I have is from Chris Martinson.
Hi, it's Chris Martinson. I'm in Harriman. I'm with Voice for the Voiceless. You can see that on voiceforthevoiceless.life. I just wanted to address some of the things that I've been doing. I appreciate getting an email from your Councilmember Smith, but I wanted to address a couple of those things. One of them was that you had talked to your constituents and said that you didn't want a proclamation, that they didn't agree with the proclamation of not wanting abortion under any circumstances here. That was a proclamation that I put in, that I submitted to you. And I don't want to beg to differ because I've been going around getting petitions signed for that. So I don't know what constituents you have, but I've talked to many GOP groups and people on the street and everywhere, and I've not run into really anybody that says they don't want one. The other one is, in regards to Riverton, what they had is a city ordinance that said that they don't want Planned Parenthood or another abortion clinic in Riverton, and they put that in as a city ordinance. They did that under exceptions of rape, incest, mother's life. We don't want any abortions at all under this. So yeah, it is more controversial, but a controversy, I mean, killing babies, having them torn apart in the womb is pretty controversial. Those are human lives, and under the Constitution, we have equal protection. They deserve that as well. The difference there, too, is Roe versus Wade. They said it can continue to happen until Roe versus Wade. Look, this is a proclamation. It's not a city ordinance, doesn't have the legal weight to it, but it is a proclamation, and that's what we're still wanting. I'm going to continue to get more petitions and talk to more people, and I'd like to continue that conversation. So I just wanted to make that address. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Can I ask just one question? Chris, did you leave your contact information on here as well? Do you have a cell phone or something that we could?
Yes, I have contact information.
Okay, as long as it's on here, I'll just get it from you.
I can. I've emailed it to everyone.
It's on here.
Oh, thank you.
We'll make sure it gets
And
given out.
my email should be as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it is. All right. Sorry, give me just one moment, please. Okay. All right, we will go to Larry Mylar.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and staff. It's good to be with you again. Here's a quick update on the auto mall. It's been a while since we reported what's happening, but a lot has been going on since last time I stood before you, so I thought it might be a good idea to step up and let you know the progress we've been having. We continue to meet with staff, and we continue to work on tenants and buyers in the commercial section and also in the auto mall itself. The lease that we have been pushing for, the one we've been talking about in weeks past, is in final form and in front of the tenant. Should be signed this week, and I know a lot hangs on that lease. While we've been negotiating the lease, and attorneys, of course, have been involved, we've also been strategizing and working on plans that will be coming into the city, both building plans, site plans, plats. So we're excited about that. We have a couple of other tenants as well, including an RV dealership and a possible boat dealership and a possible motorsports dealership. So we think we'll have a good array along with the string of dealerships out on Mountain View corridor that we've been contemplating in our past discussions. So it's all looking good, and I'll get a copy of the signed lease to City Attorney Andrizzi, excuse me. Got my Italian names mixed up there for a second.
It's all right. He's an attorney.
Yeah.
He's been called worse.
And then we can move forward with the various aspects that follow that lease and having someone at the table as we've been speaking in past. So wanted to let you know about that. I also know that tonight you'll be talking about the Game Point land purchase. And in case there's not a chance for me to weigh in on that, I think this is my shot with 17 seconds. I wanted to let you know that we would love to work with them. We would love to incorporate that land into the auto mall if that works and if that fits your plans. And we've had some discussions. I think we've got some common ground and could do something. COVID hit them as hard as it hit us. Let's keep that in mind as we look at that situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry.
Looking forward to seeing that lease, by the way. It's going to be a good day. All right, next one we have is from Jed Stevenson.
Hello, all. Thank you for your time. Jed Stevenson, representing Game Point Properties. I'm here to do a couple of things. One, let you know that as you do discuss this, if you have questions, I would be here to enter into any dialogue that you may wish to have. Knowing that this may not be the appropriate venue for that, I am here to request that after whatever is decided in your wisdom, that we may have opportunity to have a conversation after the fact. And to echo what Mr. Mylar said, we have been in discussions. It is our intent to do what we agreed to do back at the time that the property was purchased, and that is to do what is in the best interest and put the property to its highest and best use for the city to provide tax base. One point that I wanted to bring to your attention is almost simultaneously with our purchasing the property from you as a city. At that point, we received word from city staff and others that there was a desire that we work with those representing the auto mall, and that we look to relocate and do a land swap. And we spent a significant amount of time trying to make that happen. And then, of course, that created delays. And then at that point, we all were hit with COVID. And it was determined that a family fun center would probably not be the best option for us or for a revenue-producing standpoint for you as a city. And so I want to just reiterate that it is our intent to develop that property in a manner that is, as we agreed in the beginning, that is best and works for you. It would be our request that we extend the repurchase option to give us some time to be able to have those discussions and further express to you our willingness and our plan to do so. I'll remain here if there are any questions later, but thank you for your attention on this.
Thank you, Jed. Appreciate that. All right, the last one I have is from Ken Fish, but I believe that's in regards to the easements. Please, Ken.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Ken Fish. I live at 13552 South Belmont Park Avenue. My question to the council that I'd like to get on record and see if there is an answer that I can get for this. The property that is directly behind me at 13551 South 6400 West had been looking to subdivide continuously since the original owners left. At one point when that happened last time with the attempt at a flag lot, we were told that that section would be closed. No more separations, no more subletting, no anything. I thought they had been renting space to a business. I found out when I called the business license that it's actually the neighbor who they sold half of that lot to at a time when we were told nothing would be sold or subdivided. Now, the neighbor has a acre lot plus that half. That would give them enough to subdivide, where before at an acre with curb and gutter, they could not legally do a subdivision at half an acre. I would like to know, one, how this happened, because the person I spoke to in the business licensing office had no idea how this would have happened to begin with. And I also would like to see what safeties are being met so that that will not be subdivided at some point, because the people using it are using along the south end of that property as an entrance to come in for that business, which is basically creating a flag lot. And the main reason that that was disallowed was because of traffic.
I think those are wonderful questions. I know that our staff, there's multiple departments that are always involved in these types of situations. And so our business licensing department may not have the same information as our planning department. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to direct staff to take a moment to get your information and then see what they can do to provide you with some details as to what exactly happened. I don't know if there are specific stops in place, as you say, or protections that would prevent necessarily a subdivision if they do meet the requirements. We have to go off of the ordinance, and if they meet the requirements that qualify with that ordinance, then we would follow those ordinances. But that's the specifics on what that would mean on this particular piece of property. Our staff can give you some more information about. So I believe, I think Michael will, our city planner will grab your information. He'll do some research and help get some more clarification as to what's going on exactly on that property.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
And then we'll give you an opportunity to speak on the other item as well when we get to that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. That is the list of items that I've received comments for, forms for. If there's anyone else that would like to speak at this time, please feel free to come to the podium at this time. Please state your name and then give us your comment. All right, seeing none, I will close the public comment portion of our meeting. We'll move on to item 6, which is City Council Board and Committee reports.
Just a real quick comment from the Association of Municipal Councils. We had an interesting discussion, as I mentioned earlier, with Justin from the League of Cities and Towns about issues that are coming up in the legislative session, particularly around water, around growth, around infrastructure, housing, these hot button issues. So I guess I would just say at this point, more than a report to the council, as much as a report to the residents, is I think if they would go back and look at the minutes from our work meeting or the record of our work meeting, see that we as a council are prioritizing what some of those legislative issues are going to be and how we're going to help address those for the benefit of the city and the residents here. So we'd like to hear feedback from all the residents too. If there's priorities that you have or things that are happening in the legislature that you'd like us to be focused on and helping, we would solicit that feedback from you as well. So.
Just real quick, not one of the standing committees that I sit on, but I did have the opportunity to represent the city and do a quick presentation at the Jordan Education Foundation Economic Summit that was held last week. And in conjunction with our surrounding other municipality partners. Also, there was a presentation by Representative Snow on the point, which we were able to see in our work meeting tonight. And I just really want to pass along that, despite all of the challenges that we faced over the past year and a half with COVID, the challenges to our small businesses, we really are very fortunate to be in the state and the condition that we are as a state economically. We have the highest economic outlook in the country right now as far as any of the other states go. And that is something really fortunate despite all of the challenges that have existed over the past couple of years. And And we still have our own challenges to deal with the local growth and keeping up with that and how that affects our economic growth as well. But again, I think we have good problems to have right now, really in the whole south end of the valley, as we look at the conditions that exist really economically around the country. And so I just wanted to give a quick report on that. And my apologies, Mayor, I forgot to give one shout out recognition. So I'm going to do it really quickly. Was able to participate, the city sponsored a firefighter fallen memorial. And on the 2nd, Saturday the 2nd, appreciate Unified Fire Authority. I know Chief Whittison is here, and all of the support and help that we received from them. It was the first time that the city has jumped on board with that. They had, much like they did for the police officers memorial earlier in the year, the South bandstand there lined with pictures and stories of those who had died in the line of duty in fire service in the state of Utah. There's been 70 total on record for the state of Utah, and we didn't have pictures of all of them for this one, but we did have several up there, and it was astounding to me that most of them I knew personally, which was really something to reflect on. But it was just an outstanding service, one that I really want to get passed back to events and all of the work and preparation they put into that. It was just a great event, and look forward to continuing that tradition moving forward.
I was going to ask you about that, so.
It was outstanding.
All right, we will move on to the public hearing portion of our meetings. The first item or first and only item in public hearing we will consider is the public hearing to consider vacating right-of-way easements for a horse trail located on approximately 6355 West Rose Runway. Blake, where you at? Jonathan. Blake's not here. Jonathan.
Blake has cooties or something. Superbug.
That's right, Mayor. Blake is not here. He's sick, but he's doing okay, but I'll be here to present in his place. Yeah, Jonathan, thank you. So thank you very much. There is a trail the trail is in this area as far as the vicinity map goes. And again, maybe while I'm here, just a little bit giving some background information. This issue has come to the council prior, and then the request was that we come back with the procedure that has been followed. And so that's why we're here today. Essentially giving information on that. So some background information we want to provide here is that this was platted back in 2002. It does appear that it was included as a requirement during Planning Commission approval. However, it was not included as a staff recommendation, nor was it included with the original plan that was submitted by the developer. And again, kind of pointing out that there's not a lot of evidence of an agreement that kind of shows maintenance responsibilities that the city has versus private property owners. The residents provided a petition to the city, and this map essentially is just reflecting a result of that petition, and that is that specific effort only, right? The city might have received yays and nays in other efforts, but rather this is just encapsulating that particular effort from the petition. You can see that that there's the blue indicates that they are in favor of vacating the easement, and then yellow that they are against it, and then obviously the ones that are not filled in did not reply.
So just to make sure I understand correctly, the yellow line between the properties is the easement in question.
Yes, that's correct. And so anyway, so you can see that overwhelming is at least as part of this petition, that there is a recommendation from the residents to vacate that particular trail. And then here's the last slide, and kind of just showing, the time of that easement was put in. Obviously, there's quite a bit that's developed in and around that area. I think the anticipation, again, was an equestrian trail, but rather it's filled in perhaps with, single-family residential, and as well as the trail does not have any apparent connection to the large city trail system.
Where specifically is this on this particular image?
Oh, how can I do this?
The left edge by the main,
So, yo, thank you. Oh, okay.
Here?
I'm,
left edge of the main road there.
Here?
Yeah. With those houses right there. It goes behind us, yeah.
Off of Rose
oh,
Canyon Road.
I'm not going to do a very good job here.
Right here. Is that correct?
Thank you.
This is what we're.
Right, can you guys see that? I might probably need to draw that.
There you go. Yeah, draw that on there. That right there. Okay.
Does that make sense?
We got this
And
new
then
fancy
likewise-
system. We might as well use it.
Yeah.
In
And so,
here? Yeah, in the staff report it does. that.
Talking right here, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yep. That's correct. So now at this point, what we want to do is solicit council's direction at this point on what we should do at this point.
Okay.
Public hearing.
And I would add, I apologize, Mayor, staff recommends vacating the easement from Rose Runway to Belmont Park Avenue based on the information which we've received.
Okay. Awesome. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So this is on for a public hearing. This body will have a discussion after we have the public hearing. Please keep in mind that the same rules apply as we used earlier for public comment. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. I do ask when we start having conversations in regards to items that may be slightly controversial among property rights and neighbors, that we please be respectful of those who may be speaking if they have a differing opinion than we do. Also be respectful that even if you agree with somebody that this is a body that's here to work and that a ruckus applause might be inappropriate. But with that being said, I will move, we will go ahead and open the public hearing portion. We will first hear from Ken Fish, who did submit a comment form on this. So Ken, if you want to come up, please.
Hi, it's me again. Looking at the map before, it looks like I'm probably the only yellow mark on there, as would be my guess, for not being in favor of this. We moved in 2003. That easement was told to us that it was a requirement by the city from Fieldstone Homes, and that we needed to agree to give up that property to do that. We did that. I've been in there all this time, 18 years, everything is landscaped. What happens, I mean, this was done because it was a requirement, and now you expect the burden to fall back on the homeowner. So what will the city do if this is vacated to take care of this? Is the fence that's currently there going to remain, and then it's just an eyesore as it breaks from not being used? Will weeds overgrow? I mean, what is the city's plan once this is vacated, other than saying, here, now it's yours, after 18 years of not being able to use that for anything? So, I mean, I'm unable to do this work myself, and I do think it's fair that, you know, you guys should just be maintaining that trail, as was originally told back in 2003, 2002, when we first started negotiating with that. So I would hope you would take that into consideration. Thank you.
All right, so that is the only comment form that I currently have. If you are here to speak to this item, please come up to the stand and state your name, and we will take your
Chris Sprouse, I live on Rose Canyon Road. The easement is behind us. And I was here when they were developing the land. At first, they wanted 5 feet from him and 5 feet from us. And the developer didn't want to tear down all the fences that were already there to take that 5 feet. So they decided to stay with what they had, the 10 feet on that side. So that was the main reason it was like that. And this gentleman said that there was no trail, you can't go anywhere in it. It's not true. We used to walk from our house, which walking's hard anymore. we'd walk from there to the park all day long. And you could make a big circle going around. But the thing now, it's the only time that you can walk on it is before the goat heads come up. Once the goat heads, you can't walk your dog. And I've taken my tractor and scraped it myself to get it off so my neighbor could walk her dog. So it's been there since it was after I moved there. They were acre lots, and they wanted to divide them into half-acre lots. And we threw such a stink that the ones to the south, he kept 4-acre lots, and the rest half-acre lots. And since then, one of them has been developed into half acres. But it's all horse property. That's what I've got it for. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
May I approach? My name is Heather Talena. Reside at 13633 South, 6400 West. Been there since 1992. So with Al Sprouse, my neighbor, I also attended those city meetings where Hamilton Farms developer was petitioning for approval of the development. And as he described, there was an agreement that was made as a condition of the overall acceptance of the development. So the development plan that was approved included a 10-foot horse path. So that path has been in use now for 18, 19 years. And so since it's been in the public way that amount of time, I'd like to know what duration of time of use would constitute it to remain in the public way, in public use. And how was the development plat recorded specific to the path easement? If it wasn't recorded correctly, as it appears, it may not have been. And as Al mentioned, the path may not be directly connected to the city system, but it does offer safe passage and access to lower speed, lower traffic streets with sidewalks where you can actually walk safely and connect to the community. Rose Canyon Road is very busy. We don't have a sidewalk on our side of the street, so it's not possible to walk your dog or for children to go to school or go to the parks because there's a real high risk of injury or accident or death. The speed on the road is very high, even though it's posted at 35. That's not how they travel. So that path offers an opportunity for residents to have a safe experience, to get out and enjoy the community, meet their neighbors, talk over the back of the fence. We maintain the path along our side.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Taylor Drury. I am at 13525 on Rose Canyon Road. I wanted to follow up on the point that she made. I have a 7-year-old daughter. She walks to school with our south neighbor, who is 10. We live outside of the busing boundaries for Harriman Elementary. I also have horses. I understand that the trail isn't trafficked a lot by horse traffic, right? Like, I get it. I'm almost the only one on there that has horses, but I also have children. And I can't always take them to school. We're not always available to drive them. We don't have busing available to us. So being able to have a safe space for them to walk from our home to a sidewalk is really important. Obviously, it doesn't have to be 10 feet. I understand that that's a wide easement, a lot to maintain, but even a sidewalk width would mean a lot to us and our safety. Thank you.
I'm Mark Caldwell. I reside at 13633 Rose Canyon Road. And I'm on that 1-acre lot also. And if we take the equestrian part of that property that we have, which we was bought into to start with and had that trail to get around, if you take that away from us, that's going to require a person to put a horse in a trailer before you can get him out and put him on a trail that we've designed to get around Harriman City. So there's taken away from the value of our property, when you do that. Whether they say it's part of the, not part of this, the trail system, it ties back into it eventually. It does, and it's been there the whole time. I've got trees that we've got on that path there, and you know, when I come down the path, our trees are on our lot, but I have to turn around and I maintain that right down there to the bottom and clean the leaves up every year and everything else. So I got big tall poplars. So I think it's in the best interest to leave that where it sits, and you'll end up fixing fences, and it really takes away from the value of the property, and that's where we stand. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lynn Alton. I live at 13568 South Belmont Park Avenue. I work from home, so I'm home all day long. I have 2 very large dogs that are in and out of the house all day long. I do not see anyone using that path. I randomly, maybe once, maybe during the summer, I've seen one person walk down it with a horse, and I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone on that path. And if they need a sidewalk, the sidewalk is like 50 more feet to go to the sidewalk and just walk up the neighborhood. So, yeah, so, and I can't walk the dogs down it. There's too many goat heads. But I just wanted to reiterate, I don't see anyone on that path ever, and I am home all day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Brett Bergeson. I live at 13514 Belmont Park Avenue. I've been there for 17 years. I work at home for that entire time. I also see very little use of the trail, but also in speaking to my sister-in-law, who is a horse person who actually competes and rides horses quite a bit. She has ridden on it a handful of times, and because of the narrowness of that trail, says she actually gets very nervous at certain points in that trail. Riding her horse. The other trail on the other side of Belmont Park is much wider and gives more space for the horses and is easier to ride. It's also not a real well-maintained trail. They do remove weeds periodically, although they do grow up at times. There are some ruts in it, a wash where it goes down and collects water. Also, there's a fence on the west side, or on the east side, but not on the west side, so it's kind of a half-hearted effort to make it a trail. So I would be in favor of going and vacating that so that I can use that property to expand my landscaping. Thank you.
Greg Polson, I live at 13657 Belmont Park. Is it possible to show the map? Because there's some things that I want to show on the map, that the one with the blue highlight.
Yep, give us just a minute. We'll pull
Okay.
it for you.
Hopefully that doesn't count towards the time. So part of this, where you're showing the yellow trail, back to that blue part, the trail that has my property is not showed, it's not displayed here on this map. So if I can show you here.
Actually, if you just touch your screen, there's.
Okay. So right
You
there.
need to turn that on. Hold on.
Yeah, so there is a trail there that goes between that property as well. So I wanted to clarify that. So to talk about, just to get you guys familiar with what it is, where it is that we live and what that looks like. Most of the time it is covered in goat heads, and like I've said before, I go out there every Saturday morning spraying goat heads, because kids can't take their bikes down it. So it's frustrating that way. But we also have dogs. It's a narrow trail. I think in concept of being a horse trail, on paper it makes sense, but in reality, horses go down there, the dogs bark, it's close proximity. I've seen little girls on horses that almost get bucked off. It's just kind of terrifying. And so I've talked to some horse owners that used to live up that way, and they choose not to use it. In fact, I think I sent some pictures to the city attorney people riding their horses down the city street because it's simpler, it's easier. Those that do have horses. And on Rose Canyon Road, there is quite a bit a median. I don't know if it's a median, but the side of the road, I mean, we probably have 15 feet there, side of the road. So horses take the roads anyway. They go down on through the city streets because there's horse manure. So you know they do. So anyway, that's my comment. Thanks.
Kenny Alton, 13658 South Belmont Park Avenue. Appreciate you guys having us here tonight. We've lived in our property. We built that property, or built a house on that property when it was there. Our easement is the corner lot, so we got south side and west side. I did get the petitions from the neighbors, so I guess I started this thing, but tried to get through my points in the 2 minutes. I agree with all my neighbors about their concerns, and to answer the question about the property value, well, it's actually the property belongs to the people on the east side of that trail. So he's right, it does impact the property value, but that would be of the people on the east side. Also, being there for 16, 17 years, I have not really seen any of our neighbors go across the fence and say hi or how you doing, or
Could you
any
please
of
direct
that.
your comments to this body, please?
Sure, absolutely. So I agree with them, and I would love to see the city spend their money on a sidewalk on 6400 Rose Canyon versus trying to maintain that horse trail. We have another horse trail just east of us that's 100 yards away, which is 60 feet wide. And it's groomed, it's paved for the people to walk down, it's grass and dirt on the side for the horses, so it's a perfect situation. It's a main artery of the trail. There is really no good reason for the trail, that the 10-foot trail behind us is becoming more of an eyesore and a safety issue. The trees are overgrown in that area. I've had to call Parks and Recreation once or twice a year to come out and spray for all the weeds and trash that collects down that trail as well. Our neighbors do their best to keep it upkept as much as possible, but it's just not feasible. Things have changed, the community has changed, and I think the money could be used elsewhere. So, thank you.
All right, seeing no further comment, I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Steve?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I vote yes, that motion passes. This item is not necessarily on for action item tonight. However, is there any discussion that the council would like to have on this item?
I just really want to thank the residents for taking the time to come out and to share their views and opinions with us. It's, you know, a lot of times as a council and having this stuff come before us, you know, we get great input from our city staff, but we just don't a lot of times get a lot of input on these issues from the residents who are directly affected by it. So I really appreciate each of you taking some time tonight to come out here and share those with us. It has been very insightful for me to hear that from you, to be able to help me have a little bit better grasp and understanding of the questions and the concerns, and honestly the request at hand, which will definitely be beneficial in helping me make a decision as we move this forward. So just thank you for your time.
Yeah, well said. I agree with what you said, Clinton. And I think that so often the person making the petition is the only one we hear from.
Yeah.
Right? We don't get to hear how it impacts all the residents around it. And so getting a more 360-degree view, I think, is really appreciated. So thank you all for your time tonight and coming out.
Jonathan, will you come up to the podium for me just to answer a couple questions? Will we put the map back up with the colored lots there? So help me understand where exactly is the easement? Is the easement all on the south side? Is it halfway between the two? Like, can you help me
Along the
clarify
blue
that?
lines.
Yeah.
Blue lots, I think.
Turned around a little bit here.
That's the problem, is I'm trying to understand the maps to make sure I'm understanding the
So
orientation.
if, go back and maybe I can help point.
I believe it's all on the south side. But I just want to confirm that that's what we're showing
This
from
is,
the map as well.
this is actually the
Or
west
the west,
side.
oh geez,
Yeah,
on the west
North
side,
is to the left, yeah.
yep,
west side.
that's correct.
So this property does fall on,
Those platted lots that you see
there.
along that, yeah.
And solely not on the ones on the other side.
Correct, yeah, it is encumbering one side only, as shown in the highlight, and I'm messing it up with my mark.
Yeah, the lots that front 6400 West and back this trail here were existing lots. And so when the development came in behind them, again, the initial request, as we've heard, was to take 5 feet from each
Each
side,
side.
which they did not get because those were existing lots
lost,
already.
and you-
So,
yeah.
so the 10-foot easement belongs to each of those lots that you see outlined there.
So as far, I know there was a question, and Chase, help me if I'm wrong here, please. There was a question regarding remaining in public use if it's being used. Being that it's an easement, that question is not not relevant, simply because it is an easement and it is technically in public use, right?
That is correct.
So just to answer that question, it's not a relevant question simply because it doesn't matter in this point because the city owns the easement, therefore it remains in public use as long as we own the easement. So there's no need to identify that it has been used in the last certain amount of time because it just automatically falls under that easement, just to clarify that particular point. So I want to often, in all honesty, and often when we see these types of issues come up, there becomes quite a bit of animosity between neighbors, and it can get quite heated. I want to thank you all for the respectful manner in which you address this issue. It's much, much more productive for us to have these conversations in a productive manner. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it. In a productive manner, and I appreciate that way in which you guys, all of you as residents, have come and participated in this discussion. I assume that we will have this back on in a future meeting, correct, for actual decision or consideration. What's
Correct. If you were to, so what we're looking for tonight is what do you want us to bring back? So we would typically, talking with the city attorney today, we would generally do this via resolution if you wish to vacate it. If you wish to keep it, then at that time you would just not pass the resolution.
or just not bring it back?
Yes, if the three of you said, don't bring it back, we wouldn't bring it back.
So that the residents here, I'd like to be open and kind of where I'm thinking. I can understand both sides of this conversation, and just to kind of give some insight into where I'm sitting on this particular issue as of right now. Harriman City has always made it an effort to have trails and those things as part of the city. We make a big effort. We require it from almost every developer. It is something we just dealt with the Olympia development, and we required miles and miles of trails in that one. I can understand the desire for a property owner to reclaim land for their exclusive use. At the same time, this easement has been in place for some time, and even by admission of those who would like to remove the easement, there is still occasional use. If not steady and daily, there is still occasional use on this particular trail. In my opinion, if we have an easement for a trail or a park and there's a single property owner that would like to, or individual that would like to have this remain as public use, I would lean towards that heavily as my starting point. So for me, with there being quite a few individuals who have expressed that they would like to continue to use this easement, I would be I would be disingenuous to indicate that I would be anything other than leaning towards leaving the easement as it is now. With that being said, I am only one of 5 members of this body, and so that would come to the body as a whole, but it would be my opinion that unless I saw some other substantial prevailing interest that was supported by data and not just anecdote, I'd probably be fairly strongly opposed to removing this easement at this time. With that being said, like I said, I'm only one of 5. I just want to let the members of the public know kind of where I stand at this time. You can choose to have an opinion or not, or we can bring it back, or you can do whatever you want.
Well, Mayor, I appreciate your comments. Again, I think I've had a lot of good input tonight that has helped me to understand the issue and the request a little bit better and the reasons for the request. I live basically on the east end of all of this development. I'm in the Rose Creek Estates portion of this, and I've actually walked to this trail a number of times in my community or in my neighborhood over there as I use the trails actively in that area. So I'm familiar with it. I know the issues that exist over there. I have trails that back my property as well on the east side of the development where I have some of those same issues. You know, it's not heavily used. There's some ongoing maintenance that I've just taken upon myself to do as far as the ongoing maintenance over there. And generally speaking, have fought pretty hard for and maintain that once we get an easement in place for public use, that I generally need some very, very strong and convincing reasons of why I would want to take that public easement away. I think that there was, again, certainly some of the times and the uses, and even some of the demographics of our community have changed in the nearly 20 years now since those houses have been built. But I certainly understand that there was really in my mind, a couple of factors of why they put this in here. One was obviously to create a connectivity component of the trail system that is through that community over there. Secondarily is it helped to create a buffer between those 1 acre properties that come off of 6400 West. And the fact that they did have animals. Some don't now, but some still do. And I think that buffer, that division along there's still a lot of benefit to that to help avoid some of those fence line disputes that can happen when one person has animals on one side and the other one doesn't. There's just some wisdom in that. Again, at this point, I would be, again, being completely open and honest, I would probably lean towards keeping the easement in place based on the history and some of the other factors that I'm aware of just from living in the community over the years. And I've been in the community for 22 years, so.
Well, you guys are looking at me. I don't know that I have a strong opinion about this one way or the other. You know, I respect that although there's an easement owned by the city, the property's owned by those homeowners, right? I'm not sure that it has much impact on property taxes with the way they're calculated, but you know, these are part of their lot descriptions and you know, so I can understand for those that want to regain control of property that's not being used really by anybody else. I also understand that vast majority of the residents have expressed their desire to get rid of it, but there's still something that would like to keep it. A couple things that are weighing in my consideration is that my understanding is, I guess, these houses that are across Belmont Park Avenue to the east, the large major trail is right behind their houses, right? Right behind these houses on
We're getting a yes from our park director.
east side of Belmont Park, right? That's where the big main trail is. And then And that is accessible to pedestrians and horses as well, is that correct? Okay. Also, on the south end of this trail, where I guess the yellow line ends, the easement does connect between those other two lots to the trail, is that correct?
Correct.
And that's going to remain? That makes sense, so, yeah, so that will remain as an easement according to what we're proposing, is that correct? I'm just looking for some nods, yeah.
My understanding is that had come before council maybe a year ago, and council said they were going to leave it, so that was not part of this discussion.
But that is also private property with a public easement over the top of it, whereas the trail to the east of that, the main trail, is publicly owned.
Yeah, publicly owned trail all the way through.
There's
yeah.
a distinction between those.
Right. So I guess I'm considering it from the standpoint of, I don't know that this diminishes access to the trail system very much. I don't know that there's a major impact. I can understand, though, the argument that these 1 acre parcels, is this A zoning? Do these have agricultural horse rights still, or animal rights?
I think they're R2, or they R115 or R210.
Talking about the bigger lots.
The bigger lots to the
Oh, on
west.
64?
Yeah.
Those are A. I'm
Those
pretty
are
sure
A,
those are
right?
A, yeah.
So they have
And these lots are R, right?
Yes.
So.
That is from what I recall.
Yeah, it's agricultural.
Okay, so the one concern I have is that the A lots, the agricultural lots, if they had horses and wanted access to the trail system, they would have to come out along 6400 West and then walk around and down to get to the trail, right?
Correct.
The way that 6400 West is right now, I wouldn't want to ride a horse down there. That doesn't seem very exciting. I don't know, any horse owners can tell me that doesn't seem, it would be real exciting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve, let's direct the conversation between us. Thank you.
I'm just curious, I'm just asking.
I know.
But my comments are, I can understand both sides. I'm sympathetic to both arguments. And I guess I would say at this point, I'm listening to both sides of the argument, and I'm, as it wasn't up for action, I don't know that I was ready to form a strong opinion.
That's
But
fair.
I would say that I'm, I don't know that I'm leaning one way or the other right now, other than I appreciate the feedback and the arguments. That
So what you're saying is
trying to
you would like to see this come back before this body a second time?
I think I'd like to hear further discussion and input from, I know it's weird, I'd like to hear Sherry's input and her understanding of.
I was just
the
going to say,
agricultural issues and
I'm
things
pretty
like
sure
that.
to be
gonna have-
fair,
There's 2 other members of the body.
there's 2 other members that aren't here tonight, which could change the
Yeah,
outcome of
I
that.
appreciate the input of the body
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
making this decision, so.
So it looks like we will be bringing this back at a future date. Please be aware that at that future time, we have held the public hearing. It is now closed. So there will be no further opportunity other than the general public comment portion of our meetings. There will not be another opportunity for you to speak on a specific item in regards to this. So if you have any further comments you'd like to make, please send them to this body. You can do that through our website. You can email us. Or you can give it to us in the public comment in that meeting. Just understand that there will not be an opportunity once that item comes up to actually speak towards that item. With that,
Can I just ask to make sure when it comes back, that it won't be a consent agenda item, that it'll be a general agenda
this
item that
would
we
not
can
be.
just have discussion about? Okay.
Yeah, I would not be comfortable with this being a
So,
consent agenda.
so likely that would be the November 10 meeting, just with the timing of agendas and. So I understand what we will do is we'll prepare a resolution which will allow you to do it, but it would be up to council how you want to proceed.
So there might be one prepared, but please be aware that just because there is a resolution in place does not mean that this body necessarily intends to pass said resolution. Simply will give us the option once all members are here. All right, moving forward, we will move on to the consent agenda item of our, thank you guys for coming. We very much appreciate it. I'll move on to
Get into the boring stuff.
the consent agenda item. I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
I will second.
Motion and a second. Steve?
Yes.
Clint?
Yes.
I vote yes, that motion passes. We move on to item, we'll move on to item 9.1, discussion consideration of a repurchase option for 6 acres of real property known as Game Point property. Chase?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this item is on for your consideration tonight to discuss whether or not to exercise a repurchase option for 6 acres of property known as Game Point property. It's located in the northwest corner of the Auto Mall area. Just by way of background, in 2019, the city sold the property to the current owner, entered into a development agreement for that project, and also in October of that same year, executed a repurchase option wherein the city essentially preserved an option to repurchase that property at the end of a 2-year period if the property had not been developed, or if a building permit had not been pulled for that property. That repurchase option expires October 16th, 2021, so in 3 days. The city now has a few options to consider. They could exercise the option and repurchase that property for the sale price, which was $1.7 million. They could assign the option under the agreement. They could also negotiate an extension of that option with the current owner, sit down and have additional discussions with the current owner regarding the potential development of that property, or just let that option lapse and not execute or exercise that option that's allowed under the agreement. This item has been discussed by this council previously in a closed meeting. It would be my best legal advice to you that any additional discussions that you would like to have on that be done in a closed meeting. Any action that you take based upon those discussions would occur in an open meeting. And you could have those discussions in an open meeting. Obviously, the purpose of going into a closed meeting is to preserve some of the sensitive items with regard to purchase price, other options that the city might have in exercising those rights and obligations under that repurchase agreement. As was stated during the public comment portion of the meeting, there is a representative of the owner here who has requested an audience with the council, but obviously you're under no obligation to entertain that either in the open meeting or the closed meeting. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions about this or give you any other additional information that you might need.
In reference to the guidance you just offered, I have some information. I had a conversation with a representative of the owners who gave me some background information that I was not aware of before that I think does have some bearing on this. Without going into details, some of that information suggests to me that it may behoove us to not make this motion, but rather consider a short-term extension that would allow a
So what
more
you're saying is you'd
further
like to go into
consideration.
closed session so that we can talk about it?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I
Should
would like
we-
to, Steve.
Should we have a closed session to discuss those things and then come back out of closed to decide what we're going to do on this item?
Steve, I will just reiterate to you that I as well have had the opportunity to have a conversation. Again, there was some additional information shared, and I think it would benefit us as a council to be able to discuss that openly in a closed session before we make a decision. And so my recommendation would be that we take the opportunity as a council to temporarily recess our general meeting to convene in a closed session to have that discussion so that we can talk openly as a council.
So we have several items, I believe, for closed session. Is the intent of this body to go in for that one item for closed, come out, finish the general, then go back into
Yes,
closed? Or
that would be my intent, yes.
I would agree with that plan as well.
I'm willing to accept a motion to move into closed.
I would like to make a motion then to temporarily recess our city council meeting to convene in a closed session for the purpose to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property as provided by Utah Code annotated 52-4-205.
I will second that motion.
Motion is second. Clint?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
I vote yes. So we will be going into closed session. For those of you who might be here from the public, we will be moving to the other room. We will come back out of closed session for further discussion, and then we will be going back into closed session for other items that we have unrelated. So you're welcome to stay around, as we will have additional discussion and deliberation after we come back out of closed session. We will just be discussing in this first closed session just this one specific item. So, again, for those in the public, you're welcome to just wait here in this chamber.
Oh, yeah, I think it's appropriate, yeah. Yes.